to my YouTube friends, it's Victoria from Victoria Makes. Now focaccia is on the menu today, and I'm going to make a simple one with garlic and with olives. It's so simple. All you need is about 500 grams of soft white flour, and I use powdered dried yeast, so you need about 5 grams of that, and then salt, about 325 ml of warm water, and olive oil, garlic, cloves and olives, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. You'll want your oven on to about 200 degrees centigrade, which is gas mark 6, and you bake that for about 20 minutes. Just keep checking it, make sure it's nice and sort of brown on the top. Flip it over and make sure the underside of it is slightly crusty as well, because you don't want that all sort of soggy. So it's really simple, so I hope you'll join me and bake along. Hopefully this recipe is so easy, and you can change it all up. Just have a little look in the supermarkets, add fresh herbs to it. Rosemary's really nice as well. If you've got some, sage is great as well, or thyme. You can also put grated cheese on this as well. Cherry tomatoes are lovely pushed in before it bakes in the oven, they'll burst. With basil leaves as well. So, you know, it's a great basic recipe that you can tweak to your own. So let's get started. So, as I say, we've got our strong white flour, and I've got some olives, garlic, yeast. I'm using dried yeast, you can use fresh yeast if you wish, olive oil, and a cup of warm water. So at first you need to put about 5 grams into a bowl with some teaspoon of sugar and some warm water. Just put a tiny little bit of sugar, and that's to feed the yeast. We'll be putting salt later with it, so that'll take away the sweetness. And just put warm water in it. That's got to be tepid water, so not too hot, just so you can put your finger in it and it just feels normal to your skin temperature. And then just mix it so all the lumps are dissolved, and then cover it. Leave it somewhere warm for about 15 minutes so the yeast will start to bubble and ferment, and that's when it's live. If it doesn't, it may be that your yeast is out of date. I'm just going to put my bowl cover over that I made in the earlier video. It's a bit big for this one, but it'll just keep it covered. And then I put another bowl over it upside down, and what that does is hopefully insulate it and keep it warm. So we're going to come back in 15 minutes and check the status of that yeast. So we've had 15 minutes, and I don't know if you can see, I don't know if I can get you to see, but it's bubbling up a little, this yeast. So what we're going to do now is I've sieved the 500 grams of flour and added the salt. I'm going to make a little gap in the middle, and I'm going to pour in the yeast with the water, and I'm going to pour in the rest of the water. And we've got a tablespoon of olive oil as well. And what we'll do is just using the flour from around, lightly mix it all together. Right, so it's now coming together beautifully. I'll show you the texture of it. Okay, looks like a nice big dough. What we need to do now is get it on a surface, a floured surface, and give it a good knead. Now you can put it in a mixer if you've got a dough hook. I've got a dough hook on this Kenwood, but I do like to actually give it a knead myself as well. If I'm making a lot of bread, then I often do it in the machine. If I'm just doing like the odd one like this, then it's nice to just knead it yourself. So what you do is flour your surface. Right, so I've got the dough on the floured surface, and basically I'm just going to move it around a little bit and start bringing it together. usually take my bracelet off. If there's no flour on the bottom, then you might need to sprinkle it a bit more. Depends how wet your dough is. You'll get to feel if you're sticking, then just get a bit more on the board. And it's just a lovely feel to it when you're kneading it like this. It's really nice. And we've been making bread all over the world since time immemorial, haven't we? So, you know, it's something that's been done for millennia. Again, it's absorbed all the flour, so that's fine. Just get a bit more on, it won't hurt it. Aim for about 10 minutes to knead. With a focaccia, you want it to rise, but obviously you don't want to rise it up as much as a loaf of bread. To only come up about 4 or 5 inches. You want that light and airy dough. Try and stretch it. I didn't measure out my water today, I did it by eye, so I suppose that's why I'm having to flour my board a little bit. It was a little bit sticky, but that's fine because if there's a bit too much water in, the flour will be absorbed and it'll all come out good in the end. It's a good workout this. You do it for 10 minutes or so, you get feeling your muscles in your arms. Yeah. As I say, there's plenty of different recipes and variations of the focaccia you can do, like I said before. So if you make this basic recipe and then add flavours each time that you would like to add, make it your own, can't you? If you'd like to see some more bread recipes, please let me know in the comments. Do things like brioche and croissants, donuts, things like that. Loaves of bread, sourdough. Soda bread very easy and quick as well, if you haven't got time to go through all the rising stages. That's why I like the focaccia, because you don't have to have it rising for 2 lots of hour and halves. The reason why the bakers start about 2 o'clock in the morning. Because things do take a long time, don't they? So what you want them to do is you've got your sticky dough and you're just going to knead it until it's smooth and silky, which takes about 10 minutes. Same amount of time in a food mixer as well. Try and break it up as well and then roll it back on itself. That's all sort of adding more air into it. Right guys, so I've done this for about 10 minutes. I'm really happy with the elasticity of it all now. What I want to do now is to get it and roll it into a nice round shape, like so. And then olive oil, or a bit of oil, whatever, in the bottom of your bowl. And pop it in the bottom and cover it so that it starts to get warm and hopefully rise. Put my bowl cover over the top first. put the plate on it and put it somewhere warm to rise. I'll leave it for about half an hour and make sure it's doubled in size, and I'll come back and show you. Right guys, so you can see it's doubled in size, so we're going to take it out, and because we greased it, it's come out really easily. Okay, and shape it to form the shape of the tin it's going to go in. Just give it a good push down. And what we'll do is we'll let it rise once more, and then it will form the shape of the tin properly. And what I want to do is put toppings on it now. So what I've got is I've cut lots of garlic cloves and shredded each clove up into 3. Some olives, and I've got some red onions that I've pickled. I want to use some of these up. I've also got some jalapeno dried green chili peppers as well. So basically I'm going to put garlic in it all. So I'm just going to get the garlic cloves and push them upright into the dough. Even it out. Now, as it cooks, the garlic will soften and cook in the bread. Smoked garlic, which is absolutely gorgeous. And then I've got some olives, which I'm going to put in this half. And as I say, I'm going to sprinkle some of these pickled onions, which are pickled red onions, on this half, and that will hopefully caramelise in the oven. On the side of the caramelised onions, I'm going to put some jalapeno dried peppers. Not many, because they're very hot. Obviously you do it to your own taste. If you don't like chili peppers, just don't use them. And then some normal herbs. And on the olive side, I want to put a few little pieces of cherry tomato in, and just chop them in quarters, because these are quite big ones actually. I think I'll just do that, and I'm going to put some pepper on the top. I haven't got any basil, but normally I would flake basil leaves on it. The salt in the mixture. Then we'll drizzle it with olive oil, and then I'll put it back to rise for about another 15 minutes, see how it goes, somewhere warm. And then I'll show you what it looks like. Right guys, so while waiting for that bread to rise, we're going to make that focaccia. It needs a bit more time to rise up before I put it in the oven. I'm going to use up some of the vegetables I've got in the fridge in the vegetable basket, and make like a spinach, cauliflower, kidney bean and chickpeas and roasted cauliflower salad. Hot and cold salad. Mixed it all together with some flavours like maple syrup, some turmeric, a bit of ground masala, so it's got a bit of spice to it, but also a little bit of sweetness from the maple syrup. So I'm going to roast off the cauliflower and the sweet potato, cover that in the spices, and we use probably half a teaspoon of ground masala, a bit of cumin as well, and turmeric, salt and pepper of course. And then I've got half a tin of chickpeas I won't use them up, so I'm going to add some kidney beans to that as well. You can roast off the chickpeas and the kidney beans as well, or you can do it in a frying pan, so just put a bit of coconut oil in and fry them so that they're all toasted and a little bit brown and they go crispy, and they'll have a bit of crunch to the salad, which will be gorgeous. And then the roasted cauliflower and the roast sweet potatoes with all the spices on will impart a nice flavour as well, won't it? This recipe will probably make you 2 to 4 bowlfuls. And also what I'm going to do is make a maple syrup and tahini dressing. So all you need for that is about 50 grams of tahini and about 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, and heat it all in a pan, and then just at the end just drizzle that all over and mix it all up so the flavours are nice. You can put curly kale in that, or something like a dark green vegetable as well. I'm using the green leaves of the cauliflower. I'm going to roast that off because I haven't got any curly kale. And so obviously when you trim your cauliflower down, just trim the green leaves off, clean them, and then use those as well in the salad. And it's absolutely delicious. Season it and yeah, enjoy it. It'll be really nice. I'll show you what it looks like at the end. Right guys, so what I mentioned earlier on is I've got my cauliflower, and these green stalks I always use, and I just strip them down and use the green part of it. If I'm doing something like a cauliflower soup, I also trim the stalks as well, really finely, and throw those in the soup as well, because it's all really tasty. But on this occasion, because I'm not actually going to be roasting it for too long, I'm just going to use the green. part of it, so just trim it all away like so. And then you've got your green part of your vegetable you're using, your dark greens as well, which these hold a lot of nutrients in here and really healthy. And obviously if you haven't got anything like Savoy cabbage or curly kale, which would work really good in this recipe as well, this is a great alternative, and you're not wasting as much of your cauliflower either. I mean, I've paid about £1.80 for this cauliflower, so you know, if I can get as much out of it as I can, then it's worth it, isn't it? You can also use frozen cauliflower as well for this recipe. You only get the florets, generally speaking, so you won't get your greens, but you can obviously use curly kale as well. And have a look at the price of frozen vegetables, because they do often represent good value and often very, very fresh as well. Yes, they are frozen, but they often frozen very, very quickly from being picked, so you're getting a lot of the nutrients preserved more. Whereas if you have a cauliflower hanging about in your fridge for a week, I would say that the nutrients are breaking down and you're not going to get as much goodness from it. And then with the florets, take away the heart, pop your florets down into sort of nice sort of sizes, small, because we want to cook this very quickly. You don't want it soft. The beauty about roasting your cauliflower, so you've got a crunch, you don't want to do it so it's moist and soggy, otherwise it'll be horrible in your salad. So that's all that done. I've peeled my sweet potatoes. I'm going to chop those into about 8. Still quite chunky. Fairly even sizes if you can. Red onion. I like to have that just sort of sliced up. If you prefer to roast it, then just do it however you like if you don't like raw red onion. And then into a sieve and wash all your vegetables, and then we'll drizzle it with olive oil and the spices and put it in the oven. Right guys, so what we need to do now is get this in a roasting pan, and we want to toss all these veg in a bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, and then we need to roast that in the oven at 200 degrees for about 10 minutes. What I'm going to do is halfway through I'll just give it a good toss. Like so, straight in the oven. Right, so I mentioned that I've got half a tin of chickpeas, and to bulk it out I'm going to use some red kidney beans, so I want to wash these first, and then we'll be tossing them in the coconut oil. So what I've done is I've rinsed that tin of kidney beans, because we don't want all that sort of slime through it, do we? And what we do, in a pan, we melt a tablespoon of coconut oil, and we want to put some cumin and some garam masala in it to give it a bit of spice. I'll have about a teaspoon of each, just to give it a light spice. You can crush some garlic up as well if you wanted to, but I'm going to leave that out this time. And again, rinse your chickpeas as well, add it to it. Right friends, so we're going to melt this coconut oil now. Okay, a tablespoon, remember. And while that's been happening, that's risen now our focaccia to a nice big depth. Put in the oven now and bake that beauty. So the oven is on 200 degrees. I'm going to bake that off, and the cauliflower is in the oven again, roasting off. So I'm melting that, and I'm going to put my spice in this coconut oil, and we've got about a teaspoonful of cumin and the same teaspoonful of garam masala, which is a nice mix, isn't it, of spices. Get that all melted and incorporated in the coconut oil, and then we will add our chickpeas to this mixture. We've got our chickpeas and kidney beans. I'm going to toss these on medium heat so that all the kidney beans and chickpeas are covered in that lovely spice mixture. This is a simple thing. You can bulk it up and double up the recipe so that you can then put it in the fridge and have it over several days for your lunch. It can also be added to fresh salad, chopped salad as well. I've taken the cauliflower greens out because they were crisping up in the oven. Now I'll put those back in the last few minutes. So we've done the cauliflower greens and cauliflower chickpeas, red kidney beans, red onion, obviously cauliflower florets. You can do it with broccoli florets as well. And that will be really nice. You can do it with spinach as well. It'll be really nice. And curly kale. Might just put a bit of frozen spinach through it as well. So while the focaccia is in the oven, and we're waiting on the rest of the items to go in this pulse mix, I've now put 3 frozen bananas, 200 grams of margarine, 3/4 of a tin of golden syrup, and melt it all down. I'm going to make a banana flapjack. I'm going to put some sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds on the top. Put it on low so it doesn't burn while it melts. Keep an eye on it because it can easily burn. And I've got some frozen bananas so it'll get a bit wet. I always freeze my bananas, you know, if they start to go a little bit brown, no one's eating them. I chop them up and I freeze them. And then I make banana bread, banana cake, put them in smoothies so they don't waste. So I just thought I'll make some nice flapjack today. Put some seeds in it and put the bananas in. I've just added frozen spinach to this, so I'm just trying to break it down with the residual heat of the warmed pulses. You can put a bit of cinnamon in this as well, with it being with banana in it. It's lovely in the flapjack if you want to. And the bananas will just kind of melt in. So with the salad, we're going to do a nice dressing, about 50 grams of tahini. So tahini is what you can use in many sauces, and it's a good key ingredient for making your own hummus as well. So I'm going to just measure out 50 grams into this bowl. So we've got 50 grams now of tahini in the bowl. We want about a tablespoon of maple syrup, and then just a squeeze of lime or lemon juice, just so it helps it bind and mix in together. And then all you need to do is incorporate it all so it becomes a nice pouring drizzly sauce, because that's going to go over the salad dish at the end. 2 to 3 tablespoons of lemon juice actually. What I want to do is make it quite thin. And you could make it thick and just toss it all in at the end, but if you want to just drizzle it, it's better to have it thinner than that. So we can literally drizzle it all over. It's quite sharp as well with the lemon juice. This would be nice over a chicken breast as well if you eat chicken. This sauce just drizzled over, tossed through salad. That's better, nice and pouring consistency now, that'll be lovely. So I'll put that to one side, leave it in the fridge until I'm ready to dress it all. Right, back to our flapjack now. So we've melted all the butter, and I'm just going to mash the bananas down so they incorporate into the butter. If you want, you could use big bits and have it like chunks of banana through your flapjack, whatever you want to do. Lovely, so that's all mashed in. If you don't want the banana in, just omit the banana. And what I do is I pour porridge oats into it until it's incorporated and is very, very thick. So you want at least the amount in weight of the butter you've had, but you'll probably find you'll need more. So what you're doing is incorporating all the porridge oats into the butter, and you want to get it so it's a very firm consistency. At the moment it's very, very runny, so there's not enough in. And this, as I've not used butter actually, I've used a cooking margarine, you often get a lot of water content in that, so you often need more solids. If you're using real butter, you probably need a little less porridge oats for this recipe, because as has a lot more fat content, whereas these cooking margins sometimes have quite a lot of water content in as well. So keep adding until it's absorbed and it becomes quite thick. Give it a good stir, continue stirring it. You can put sultanas in there, so you could put chocolate chips in this, strawberry bits, raspberries, anything you want. Banana I've done obviously with a bit of cinnamon, and have it plain of course. And we'll get this in the oven. It's usually about 25 minutes it takes to cook through in a well buttered pan, or use a greaseproof paper lined tin. When you get it out, leave it about 5 minutes and then try and cut the portions into the flapjack just before it's gone cold, so that it's easier to get out in portions then. Okay guys, so I've put the flapjack in a tin with some greaseproof paper, and what I'm going to do is just with a few pumpkin seeds, just put a few pumpkin seeds on some of them, and then I'm going to do sunflower seeds on some of them as well, and then a few I'm going to just leave plain. Got a little bit of dark cocoa powder, which I might just sprinkle in on one side, and then leave some plain as well. And that's going to go into the oven and cook with the rest of the food. Right friends, it's time to get out the focaccia, I think. Let's have a little look at what it looks like. Oh yes, that's looking nice, I hope you can see. I'll bring you over to this side and we'll get it out onto a board. And we'll put out some of our delicious roasted cauliflower and greens and spinach and red onions, and drizzle it with the lovely tahini dressing. I'll just get the sweet potatoes out of the oven as well. Right guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a portion of all this beautiful roast and crunchy cauliflower and sweet potato, red onions, kidney beans, chickpeas on a plate for you. And then we've got our lovely tahini sauce as well. I'll just put it on the surface so that you can actually see it, and we'll just turn out the focaccia, which is beautiful and brown on the underside as well. Right guys, so this is your focaccia that we've made with the garlic and the olives and tomatoes, and this was with the onions that I'd already pickled originally, and it's got jalapeno chili peppers on this, and sea salt and black pepper. And then this is our lovely healthy salad. So it's a hot and cold salad. You could actually put that on a bed of salad dress leaves as well. So you've got either curly kale if you'd like, but I've used cauliflower greens, spinach, sweet potato, red onions, kidney beans and chickpeas. Lots of spice in there. And we've got olive oil, garam masala and turmeric, and it's all been tossed in there and roasted, so the cauliflower and everything is still nice and crunchy. And then here is a lovely tahini dressing, which we'll just pour over and drizzle when we need it for tea as well. And I hope it's tempted you to make it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll add the banana flapjack shot on the end of this video. Please subscribe and hope to see you again. Thanks. Bye friends. Right guys, this is the flapjack that's come out of the oven. It's still hot, but hope you agree it looks really nice and tasty. Looking forward to tasting it later when it's cooled down. I will chop it up into portions in about 10 minutes when it's just had a little bit of time to set, and pop it in an airtight container. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've subscribed, and I'll see you again soon with more cooking, crafting and making content. Bye for now.